Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official student-led podcast of the Marriott Student Review, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today. Welcome to the kickoff episode of the Measuring Success Right podcast. Welcome to winter of 2025. My name is Stuart Bird. I'm come from the MSR podcast team. I'm joined here by Josh Clausen. He's the managing editor of the Marriott Student Review. Thanks, Josh, for joining.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we wanted to have you on the show because we wanted you to give an idea to our listeners of what is the Marriott Student Review.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the podcast here, Measuring Success Right, is kind of it's part of the Marriott Student Review, which is kind of the larger organization. It's the class we're a part of here at Brigham Young University. And I think the focus really of the Marriott Student Review is experiential learning. And I think that's something that's really valued here at BYU. Because there's only so much we can learn in a textbook or reading or writing a paper. It's really in the application of what we learn in the classroom where we really excel. I find for myself that it's when I'm teaching something to somebody else that's when I really take in the information and really understand it. And I think that's really what we value here at the Marriott Student Review. We give students an opportunity to go out and do things that are uncomfortable to them and provide them an opportunity to learn and to grow and sometimes fail, which I think is super valuable here. I think we're overly concerned with failure, but I think especially in a podcast that's about measuring success, right? We have to get to that success somewhere, and sometimes we fail to get there. And I think that's something that we really highlight here in the Marriott Student Review. We give students an opportunity to have experiences and learn. And I think this is my third year being a part of the Marriott Student Review, and it's a student-run publication, which I think is something that's incredible, is that students are really given a platform where we get to control the craft and steer the ship, which I think is an incredible thing. Dr. Richardson's the professor that's in charge of the class, and she does an incredible job really just giving us a platform where we can be young leaders. You know, we have an opportunity to run the class, and it's been incredible. I'd recommend it to anyone. But I really think it's that student-run for students idea that I think is really huge, and I think it's a great opportunity for students to get out there and share their voice. I think everybody has something to share. It's just a matter of them sharing it, right? So I think this is a great platform for students to share their ideas because literally, our classmates, the people we interact with every day, they're the future leaders of this world, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to have those chances to lead.
Absolutely. And so for that reason, we hope that students at Brigham Young University will join our team, but we also hope that people will listen to and read our content. While the Marriott Student Review as a whole publishes a journal review centered on business, the Measuring Success Right podcast focuses on interviewing people and discussing healthy ways to measure success right and how the values of the Marriott School of Business help us to measure success in healthy ways. The theme of the podcast is connecting the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today. And so as our listeners listen and explore this podcast, they will learn about that. Well, thank you, Josh, for joining our show. We will now listen to and introduce more of our team. Okay, here I am with James Call. James, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
James is a new member of our team. So a brand new addition for this winter 2025 season. And he's going to have a major role on our team. So can you introduce yourself and what your role is on our team?
Yeah, so I am an audio engineer professionally. I work on podcasts, specifically for BYU Broadcasting, for the Constant Wonder Show and a few other series here and there. And I've been doing professional audio work for probably 4 years, but I've been doing it my whole life, mostly music stuff in high school. But after my mission, I've kind of transitioned into a more focused route, mostly in podcasting. And it's been really fun, and I love doing it. So that's why I'm excited to be here, get to work on some more podcasts.
That's right. And we're excited that you're here because we can talk all day with people, but if we don't have someone who can help us get it out in a very clear, clean production, then it's useless. So thank you for joining our team. In thinking about our show, why should someone listen to our episode?
There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn in the world in general, but this podcast offers something really cool just in the fact that it's students interviewing these professionals and asking the questions that any student might have, right? What do you want to know from someone who's done it or who is successful, however they measure it? I personally really love human interest podcasts. I love learning about people, where they come from, why they do what they do, how they do what they do, and that's something that this podcast offers. So that's why I would listen to it.
Wonderful. I love that. Thanks, James.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Here I am with Taia Hobson. Thanks, Taia, for joining.
Of course.
I'm excited because Taia is also new to our podcast.
Yes.
And so she's going to bring a lot of value.
Thank you.
Let's just first start off. Like, who are you, Taia? What are you bringing to the podcast show?
Well, I'm really excited to be a host on the podcast. And I'm really excited to connect with friends and acquaintances that I've met in the past and bring them onto the show. I think it's cool that we have a whole network and we're like constantly trying to find new people to be on the show. So I'm really excited to be a host. And then I'm pre-business at the Marriott Center and looking forward to what program I get in this summer. I'm also on the BYU Ballroom dance team, and so that's probably my biggest interesting fact about me.
Wow, cool. Very well-rounded. And so that's good. You've got a lot of skills and talents. And I think our listeners should be excited to hear you interview these people that you're going to interview. So in thinking about the podcast, why should people listen to the Measuring Success Right podcast?
I think that there's so many different careers out there, and there's so many different avenues you could take for your own personal business journey. And we're just trying to get as many professionals and people who have stories to tell as we can on the podcast. And I think that you could learn so many things about your career and where you're going from these people who have done something, either what you're doing or something similar.
Yes, completely agree. Thank you, Taia.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, here I am with Allison Pope. Allison, thank you for joining. I'm excited that you're a new member of our team.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
So tell us about you. What are you bringing to Measuring Success Right?
So I'm a pre-communications major, and I've done some work with like journalism, and I worked on a podcast episode, so I have very brief podcast experience, but I'm just such a nerd for that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to get more into it and learn more about the process with production and post-production and all that. So I'm very excited to be a part of this team.
Wonderful. And what's cool is, as a communications major, this is a good place to learn about it and then be equipped with the skills that'll help you go places in life.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's cool. Allison, in thinking about the Measuring Success Right podcast, why should someone listen to our show?
I think it's a very unique experience that like we as students get to have, like for running it, you know, just to have this podcast that we get to control and, you know, do what we want with it. And I think the podcast of itself is really unique because there's only so much you can learn in a classroom setting, but I think you get so much more out of hearing from people's personal experiences and, you know, hearing from a wide variety of people and with their careers and the different lives that they've led. So I'm very excited to really get into that and interview a lot of people to just see their perspective and learn more.
Yes, I agree. Thanks,
Okay,
Allison.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Here I am joined by Sarah Bird. I'm excited that she's on the team. She's just coming in the first semester on the Measuring Success Right team.
Yeah.
So why did you join and what do you bring to the show, Sarah?
I joined so that I could learn more about what this is like. I just want the experience of making podcasts and becoming a part of this and learning more about the Marriott School too. Right now I'm a pre-business major, and so I'm working on getting into accounting. And so I think I want to do that, but right now it's just a chance to learn more about all of the things of the Marriott School and learn more about how to make podcasts. I'm excited.
Cool. Why do you think someone should listen to our podcast? Why is this podcast something that should be listened to by any regular person?
I think the goal of every podcast is to learn something that you can apply to your life. And so everyone wants success. Everyone wants to learn new skills. And this podcast is one way that you can learn from someone else who has seen success and be able to apply that to your own life and your own journey so that you can see success in your own life.
Amen. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm here with Stuart Bird. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Great. So you've been part of the MSR podcasting team for a little bit.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit who you are, why you're doing this podcast.
Yeah. So I am an economics major, which actually isn't in the Marriott School of Business, but I've always enjoyed being involved with the business school. Last semester was my first semester on the podcast team, and I've really enjoyed getting to know the world of podcasting, specifically with the equipment that's used and how to get our content out and who to interview. That's all been very exciting. So I'm an economics major, learning a lot about podcasts and trying to help get the message of measuring success right out to the world.
That's awesome. And why should people take the time to listen to the podcast, especially since you've seen a lot of behind the scenes with that?
Yeah, that's a great question because there are so many podcasts out there. And a lot of them are professional quality with people who their job is to host and to create really professional podcast content. We are students, and so this is not our job. But I think because we are students, we have a unique perspective because we're learning about business in our business classes, our accounting classes, our finance classes, and then we're interviewing people who we aspire to be someday. And that provides a good combination of just curiosity and interest that you might not find in other podcasts.
That's awesome. Well, we look forward to the next the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Measuring Success Right podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss the next interview. The Measuring Success Right podcast is a production of the Marriott Student Review. This episode was produced by Stuart Bird, Allison Pope, Sarah Bird, Taia Hobson, and Jackson Berthold. Sound design and audio engineering by James Call. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect the official views or opinions of Brigham Young University or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.